And I remember reading that chapter to our kids, David and Bathsheba, and then David murdering Bathsheba's husband, and our kids the entire time, their eyes big and wide. And at the very end of that text, right, it says that the thing that David had done was evil in the sight of the Lord. It displeased the Lord. And I remember my daughter gasping and saying, David is a bad guy too? And that happens, right, throughout the Bible. I mean, you read these characters in Scripture, and over and over again, it's as if we're just disappointed, confronted by the sinfulness of these people who were supposed to be used mightily by God. You think from the very beginning, like you have Adam, right? And yet he succumbs to temptation. He eats the forbidden fruit. Noah, in Genesis chapter 9, gets drunk off of the grapes that he had grown in his own vineyard. He's tempted and he falls. You think about Abraham. He's tempted to doubt God's promise there in Genesis. God had promised him this great nation, offspring, and yet he's tempted to doubt the Lord's promise. And so what does he do? He goes and he finds a concubine and he says, I'm going to bring the promise of the Lord to pass. He falls. He succumbs to temptation. You think of Samson, the mighty Samson, tempted by Delilah. You think again of King Saul, right? This person who had been called by the Lord, who it seems like every time he's tempted, he just disobeys God. King David, the man after God's own heart, giving in, sinning, killing, committing adultery. His son, Solomon, the king who was supposed to usher in a time of peace, the man who was said to be in the Old Testament the wisest man to ever live. You know, if you know the story of Solomon, that over time his heart was drawn away from the Lord. He was tempted by foreign women and riches, and he fell away for a time, it seems. Even the Apostle Peter, you think about this man who walked with Jesus, who saw the miracles, and yet denied the Lord there on the cross. And you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like you read the Bible, and over again, we are confronted by these stories, by these people who give in, who fall, who embrace temptation. And I think this demonstrates one thing loud and clear to each of us, to each of you. No one is beyond temptation. Let the one who thinks that he stands take heed lest he should fall. And the sobering truth, that sobering truth, is why Jesus teaches us to pray at the very end of the Lord's Prayer. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one.